Greetings. My name is Sam Hendricks, and welcome to this Whole Earth Wisdom video on my Back to Nature series about edible wild plants. Today we're out here in my swamp that's on my property, and it's the middle of May 2014, and the greatest thing about this time of year is the first edible green living wild plants are coming out right after the snow. Now literally the snow has left my property about 2 weeks ago, basically the last week of April. So it's been 2 weeks, the ground's warmed up, and we have this plant I was raised and known as the Cowslip. Little green plant, little green leaf, highly alkaline, highly nutritious, and very edible, and it's very tasty too. A lot of wild foods lack flavor because they're made nutritious to feed the tongue and body. Actually, let me get there. They're made with nutrition to feed the body, not the taste of the tongue. So this plant we call the cowslip is also known as the marsh flower and various other names. We're going to get into the various names and identification of the plant. We're going to get into harvesting, such as picking, how to do it, and what materials you're going to need to do it in. We're going to get into cooking and preparing this so you'll have something to eat at night. And we're going to get into a little bit about the plant and its life span. It always stays out about maybe 2 weeks and it's gone. But at the end of those 2 weeks, there's another plant out here we can eat. We're going to get into other field plants out here. I don't have any fiddleheads. There's another plant that comes out first thing in the spring. Fortunately, my whole entire swamp doesn't have a single one. But there are other foods. We'll go down to the big pond, we'll get some fiddleheads, pick and harvest those. Such thing as skunk cabbage, we're going to identify that. Some people call it edible. It's a very highly alkaline plant. I wouldn't consider it to be edible because its alkaline is too high for the human body. So we're going to go through the summer on this edible wild foods trip here, and we're going to get into various plants and stuff. But right now we're going to start with this little plant that we call the cowslip. And probably called that because it's a very slippery plant. It grows out here in the marsh, and I'm certain that the cows walked out here and they looked like they were slipping. It's probably due more to the mud, but being the slipperiness of this plant, I can believe a cow slipping on this plant. So let's get into identifying and the various stages of the plant's life, and then we'll get into harvesting and cooking and enjoying a cowslip with our meal. And I just tore mine up. Anyways, hope you enjoy this video. Let's get into identification of the cowslip. So here we have a nice grove of cowslips growing. Each one of these green plants are a cowslip, and you see quite a few of them out here. Let's come over here. We have some that have flowers on them right up in here. So we're going to go up here, take a look at the flower, and it's a quick way of identifying this marsh plant. So here we have the cowslip with a flower. And I'm just going to pick this flower to show you a close-up of what it's like. As you can see, little short petals, very bright, almost like a buttercup. And notice the stem and the flowers where they develop. There's a flower bud coming, has the pixels inside. So that's the flower. It's the only yellow bright flower that looks like this in May in the swamps. So it's pretty identifiable. So let's get into plant identification. First, we always start off with looking at the leaves. Now a cowslip leaf kind of looks like a lily pad in a way. And it's super soft. It has the texture of I'd say like of leather, like a soft leather. but it's even more softer than that. It's very smooth. As you notice the vein patterns of the leaf, they come up the center, but they branch out from a central point and go all over the plant. So identify it by vein pattern and get it up to the sun. You can actually see the vein pattern. The edge of the leaf is very smooth. There's a dark green top and a very light green bottom. Nice, thick, strong stem, kind of much like a dandelion, but there's no milk in it. So let's look at how the plant is set up. So here's the plant coming out of the ground. It branches out. Leaves and flowers all come off the same branch power, as you notice again and again. This is the way the plant grows. So now we've identified the plant, the veins, the edge of the leaf, the colors, how the stems go down attached to the main stalk of the plant, and this is how they branch out. So it's a Y branch come up, Y branch come up. I'll just continue doing that. But these plants don't get all that big. As you can see, here's the size of my hand. And this is the perfect time to pick these when they're small. When they get bigger, they will actually get as big, the leaves will actually get as big as my hand in the next couple of weeks. They'll actually grow quite a bit. So here's the buds, just little tiny flower buds. They will make the seeds for next year's plants. So as you see, it grows in here pretty tight. Look at these plants right down here, right from the ground. As you see, a little tiny one. And then you have right from the plant base itself. Let's just pick that for right now. And they're actually pretty hard to pull out of the ground. And you notice it's the sliminess at the base. That's the way they protect themselves. And that's the stalk as they grow up into small leaves. So that's how it begins out, and it just continues growing and growing and growing. You'll notice some will have a purplish hue to the outside edge. That's when they're very young. And they grow. This right here is what we call snake grass. And obviously it's relative to the horsetail. It's growing out here, and you see a pap on it. You see the stuff on my hands, that's just pollen. So those grow out here wildly in the plants. But let's get right into the plant here. As you see, it grows up stalk wise. Leaf comes out from one side. Stalk grows up, leaf comes out from the other side. Now cowslips usually grow in nice little cute bundles like this. As you can get a nice look at them, they grow as a little group. And they have a little group. And you'll see different groups as we go out through here. Now as you watch, we have cowslips all up through here. All out through here. You notice more bundles, and then we come out here and there's just more. One thing I want to show you out here is the larger leaf. As you can see, the leaves out here are a little bit bigger, but still the same leaf pattern as before. So we have cowslips all the way out, all the way up through. In this little ravine we have cowslips all the way up through there. Here we have a nice mature cowslip growing pretty well. and you can see the flowers starting to bud. And right beside it, we have what's called skunk cabbage. Not edible for us humans, but it grows out here in the swamps too. It grows up pretty darn big. It'll grow way up here. So, but the cowslips, and this will last pretty well into the summer, the skunk cabbage does. Cowslips in a couple of weeks, they will completely disappear and not be seen again till next spring. So as you see, mature plant, nice thick stalks, leaves branching out, and coming up and branching out. As you can see, these leaves are, like I said earlier, they'll get the size of your hand. They're getting pretty big, and the wind's kicking up. Alright, in this segment we're going to be talking about harvesting. Harvesting is pretty simple. It's just basically making sure you get a good pair of rubber boots on, and it's not thundering and lightning out because you're in the middle of a swamp with water. Now, what we're going to do, we're actually going to harvest just the small leaves. You don't need to harvest the big leaves because they're actually too alkaline. They actually start to get, as you can say, cordy, like all kinds of cords in them. So we're actually going to take the small ones. There's different ways things we can put them in. We put them in a paper bag, but they get wet. I don't use plastic. You use a steel bowl. The problem is, if you're picking on a sunny day like today, the steel bowl warms up in the sun. By the time you're done picking and filling the bowl, your plants have started to wilt pretty good. So your best option is the wicker. Wicker makes a great option for picking. Now, you can actually pick these by your hands. You can pluck them off. I actually like to use these tin sneers. If you haven't got that, well, then you can trust your good old knife to do the work. But I like the tin snips best. Makes a nice, tin snips, yeah. I like the snips best because it makes a nice clean cut, and your plant suffers little from it. So when we go at a plant, we don't just chop it right off and throw it right in here. You can, it's your option. But what I do is I harvest off the small leaves. And I'm just kind of looking for them and pulling them out. Now we're not going to get into taking the buds where the flowers are coming because that's how the plant reproduces itself. I like taking every other leaf. That way the plant has still a chance to grow. If you snap off the leaves, the plant doesn't get any food. It's the leaves that supply the plant with food. And there's other plants that grow inside here, like this one down in here. So you got to be careful what you're cutting. And we just go from plant to plant, finding the small leaves. Cutting them out. Taking every other one from every other plant, so we don't starve this plant of its vitality and nutrition. We do that so the plants absorb the energy from the sun through the leaves, and the leaves power the roots to give up nutrition out of the ground into them. So it's working in harmony with itself. So if we strip it of too many leaves, the plant dies. We're not here to kill off life. We're only here to take what we need. how much I got in a short time. Is that enough for one person for one meal? Absolutely not. Cowslips are a lot like spinach. If you ever cook raw spinach, you know that you start out with a giant bowl of spinach, and the next thing you know, you open it up, there's this little tiny wad of spinach left in there. You're like, what the heck happened to it? So, if we fill half of this, that'll make a good dinner. That's what we're into here. So I'm going to continue going up through and picking and harvesting and filling my basket. And then we'll get into what we're going to do with it afterwards, as in cooking and preparing. Preparing, then cooking. How's that? Alright, in a short amount of time, we have enough for a single person for a single meal. This is what we're looking for. A nice bundle like this of food. You pick this, that's going to make a good supplement for dinner tonight. So let's get into preparing this and creating a meal with it. Well, here we are at my dinner table, getting ready to prepare the cowslips. Now basically all I do is take them out, separate out the pieces of wood that fell in there. Now I put them into a steel bowl at the house, pull out the leaves, set them up. Basically you want to put a little water over them so that they're fully covered. Just basically washing them off so that out there in the wild the rain comes down and splatters up dirt. We don't want to eat dirt. The great thing about out here in the cooking outside is you ain't got to worry about missing the sink. Anyways, we got our leaves, they're washed off. We can boil them. That's the first part. We're actually going to boil all of them to start with. So let me start and get rid of your wicker near the stove. Don't need that. You're done with your wicker. Save it for your next trip out to the woods. So what we need to do is get this bad boy fired up. All we're doing right now is basically par cooking the cowslips. We do that because they're extremely high in alkaline. So basically all we're going to do is boil them down some, take the alkalinity off the plant so that we can enjoy our meal. We have our saucepan here. I'm going to put a little butter in there while I'm waiting. I'm not going to fire it up yet, but we're going to saute some. We're actually going to boil some. I brought along some carrots. they'll put in there to make good. Throwing in some spice and some salt. Always good to cook with. I have here a little jar of elderberry jelly that I made from my elderberry video I shot last summer, which I have online. Pretty interesting video. If you haven't seen it, I get bit by bees. Yay! Anyways, wild food. Yeah. So we washed our plants, our leaves, cowslips. I'll get there sooner or later. And we're just basically warming them up, getting them, dropping the alkalinity of it somewhat. We could use a little baking soda if we wanted to, but just plain boiling it keeps it down. So make sure the heat stays on. We are cooking out in the wild. The wind does come through and knock my flame out once in a while, and then I'm sitting here waiting like, taking a long time to cook. Wonder why? And I pick it up and there's no flame. It's like, oh, duh. So, and I got wonderful birds chirping in my background. So, the cowslip is it's kind of like spinach. It'll cook down a lot, as we're going to see. And I'll put the carrots in last because the cowslips cook rather quickly in the fry pan. They make a very nice meal. And that is getting just about right. So to conserve, I'll take one match, bring it over. Come on, don't mess with me. Minimize the amount of things I like to do. Well, I use another match when that one works just as fine. Throw in some carrots. They'll be good. Just throw the cover on that. Cook a lot faster. So, like I was saying earlier, that the cowslip is the first edible plant, along with the fiddleheads, first thing in the spring after snow melts. It's very important, especially for those people who live out here in the wilds like I do. You do have grocery stores and cities and stuff, but if the system ever went down, there'd be a lot of screwed people in this world. Out here, you're not going to get screwed. Mother Nature produces every year, as long as we conserve and preserve our natural wildlife. As I noticed, I didn't take every single leaf on every single plant. I took just enough for myself for my meal. So that's what living out here in the wild will produce for you, is take away that whole need of, I gotta have everything for myself right now. You only take what you need. Very, very minute part of the wild is what you need. Wild foods are great because it doesn't take a lot to fill you up. Like this little bit of food that I'm creating here with the carrots, it's very filling. So what looks like a little amount to the body is a huge amount, because these are wild foods, organic, and they have 100 times more nutrition, and their vibrancy is at least 300 or 400 times greater than your domestic plants. The stuff you buy at the grocery store, that stuff is picked way early, before it's ripe. It's not even ripe yet. It doesn't have all its nutritional value. This is ripe. This is nutritional value. Ugh. So that's what we're getting into here. So sounds like she's cooking pretty good. Woo-ha! Alrighty. Get our carrots going. So that nutritional value of fresh, wild, organic food has a higher nutritional value, higher vibrancy value, and when those things combine to your body, your body understands and recognizes it and absorbs 100% of it. They're domesticated foods you buy in the grocery store. They're full of crap. They got preservatives on them. They got pesticides. They got all kinds of crap in them. They're picked early, so they're not fully nutritious yet. So all this comes into play while you're at the grocery store. So you're not getting 100% of your nutrition that you get picking wild foods. Now, wild foods come October, no more. You got until May of next year to pick them. So there are a few wild foods for the winter that you can pick, but for the most part, it's very scarce. That's when we get into preserving foods, like turning berries into jellies, and like the cowslips. We can can cowslips, and we're going to get into that. We're going to do another video shoot of cutting cowslips. We're actually going to take like a big huge bucket of cowslips, and we're going to can 10-20 jars. Okay, ran out of film there, so it got a little dark here, but we have cooked the cowslips with the carrots, and we put the elderberry jelly in there just to add some zing to it. So let me tell you what it tastes like. Tastes freaking awesome. Of course I cooked it, so that's why. No. But the cowslips have the consistency of lettuce, but the flavor is asparagus. I like putting the elderberry jelly in there. It takes out the wild tang that you'd get with it. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it grows in a swamp. Swamp water, swamp mud. So it's going to have a little bit of that swampy, musty taste to it. But little elderberry jelly, and putting it with carrots, seems to mix very well. So I also have wild carrots growing out here, otherwise known as Queensland's lace, that we're going to create a meal with, and probably even combine some of them with. There's another plant coming up right now that we could pick and eat right here first thing in the spring. And having these green, vital, rich foods right now is extremely important, because out here living in the wild, you're going for a long span of time without highly nutritious food to eat. So our whole point of this is living off the land, blending with nature, utilizing nature, giving back to nature. How do I give back? I didn't cut all the leaves off of a single plant. I cut 2 or 3 here or there, probably sometimes up to 5 or 6 per plant. But other than that, it's letting it to grow and be vital and flourish in its own environment. Now, we still have some boiling here. Smells really good. So, let's take these off. Shut that down before I burn myself. You can save that water. It's actually good for you. Drink that. But as you notice, we had this whole big pile of leaves here, and it's basically boiled down and cooked down to a couple of leaves. Now you can eat the leaves just as they are, but I like adding a little salt to them. Gotta watch things out here. Coons come by and take your food for you, so little salt, little spice, and your food tastes good. So let's give that a flavor try. And this is just plain boiled. Excellent. You don't get the musty flavor because you boiled it twice and you took down the alkalinity of it. But this little bit of food, just this little tiny bit, and the carrots all together, is a complete meal out here in the wilderness, because these cowslips provide so much nutrition to the body that they actually fill you up. So, thanks for watching my video. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my meal and get out there in the wilderness and explore and try and give these things a try. They ain't going to kill you unless you pick the wrong food. But it's hard to do that because there's only one plant that looks like this in the first of spring for 2 weeks. So use the identification thing that we showed in the video. Give it a try, give it a pick. Boil some up, dump the water off, boil them again, or saute them with some vegetables or meat. Put a little jelly in there with them. It really spices things up and makes things taste good. Have yourself a good day.